Yeah.
Stay on.
Hello and welcome to week 17 of DFS Deep Dive. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Like I said, week 17. In most dynasty redraft leagues, most of them I think are finishing this week, so good luck in all your championships. Like I said, the key word in our show is DFS for Daily's Fantasy Sports. As you can see, I'll have two co-hosts joining me, Luke and Mav, and you can find all of our Twitter content at the Cut FFB. In terms of our website. And as for me, you can always reach me at VandyGrad92 on Twitter. I'm kind of winding down in regards to a lot of my written content, kind of gearing up for what next year is going to look like, trying to figure out if I'm going to be in the same number of leagues, do as much writing. Like Mav said many times before, 3,400 words is a lot. I'm not sure I can do it again, but we'll see. But once again, thanks for joining us. I'm going to introduce my co-host. Guys, how are y'all doing tonight?
Chilling, man. Tired. It's crazy that he said week 17, and I there's still one more week to go.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, ahead, Luke, you can go first.
Hey guys, my name is Lucas Deepow. You can find me on Twitter, the same name, talking everything Pittsburgh, Blue Jackets, Buckeyes, and whatnot. Like I said before, me and Mav, it's getting our feet wet season here for working for the Cut Pod. It's been a fun year with these guys for sure, and look forward to more in the future to see what we can do.
Same, me too. Remember when Christian hit me up, I was like, yo, I am down. But Protagonist TV _ on Twitter. I am a gamer, so that's kind of what I do more of. But in terms of fantasy football, like Lucas said, or just football in general, just getting my feet wet this year, something I should have done ages ago. But it was fun. This is pretty much all I do. Just talk and ramble on the Cut. But on Twitter, I am a Pats fan, so I do a lot of rambling about that. As Christian knows, I do talk a lot about Mac Jones and the Patriots. I'm sure Christian loves going back and forth with me because he hasn't blocked me yet, which is weird, but happens pretty often. So appreciate you, Christian. In the meantime, this episode here today is sponsored by Better Fantasy. That is spelled Bettor, Bettor. It is a new free-to-play app that lets you sync your fantasy football league and bet on the matchups. That's fun, right? Instead of betting on DraftKings, which is what we normally do, you can bet on your fantasy team if you think your team is that good. You can cash out for a gift card when your bets hit and raise money for charity along the way. It is a brand new company as well, so it's looking to grow their community. Free-to-play app on iPhone and Android, and if you use the code THECUT today, you will receive 1,000 credits when you start your account. Thank you, Better Fantasy, for sponsoring this episode.
Like the guys and I were talking about before we entered the show here, it's kind of an unusual week. There is no Thursday night game. This week, there is a Monday night game, but there won't be next week. And in addition, those couple of Saturday games that we had last week for Christmas, they're gone too. So we've got the biggest main slate we've had all year of 14 games. Whether that's good or not is up to your opinion. It's hard to say. I don't know if the guys had a harder time or an easier time setting lineups, but it gives you more options, but it doesn't necessarily make it easier, I don't think. But like I said, there are two primetime games this week. On Sunday night, you got the Vikings headed to Green Bay to face the Packers. And then Luke and I are supporting our Steelers I believe, and we're excited about the game. We know there's a lot of Browns fans. I'll say good luck to you. Down deep, I'm not sure if I mean it, but anyway, good luck to you. And so those are your two primetime games. And I don't know, to me it was kind of an unusual week in regards to high over-unders. There really wasn't that much sitting out there. but there are a lot of big spreads. There's 4 games that are actually have spreads of 12.5 points or more, which is kind of interesting. So those teams, needless to say, will have high implied totals. But the only 2 games that had over or unders near 50 were the Cardinals playing at the Cowboys. That's sitting at 51.5. And in addition to them, you've got the Chiefs and the Bengals, another big game for our division. And the over-under that is 51. So those are 2 high over-unders. But I listed a handful of teams that, to me, you kind of want to lean towards because they've got high implied totals. And I was kind of shocked. There's actually 6 teams that have implied totals of 16 points or less, which, I don't know, kind of floored me. But anyhow, here's the high implied totals. And I'll go over those others, low implied totals in a minute. The Buccaneers are sitting at 29. The Rams are sitting at 26. The Colts at 25. The Bills at 29. Mavs Patriots are sitting at 28. The Chargers at 26. The 49ers also at 28. And the Seahawks at 25. And in terms of those 6 teams that are, I don't know, not expecting much this week, I guess, the Giants are sitting at 16. The Falcons sitting at 15. Get this one. The Jags are sitting at 13. The Panthers are at 15. The Texans are at 16. And last, but certainly not least, the Jets sitting at 16.
Wait, what about the Packers and Lions?
What was it now?
Packers and Lions.
Packers are playing the Vikings.
Wait, what am I looking at? Oh, that's next week. Oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm so far scrolled down. And I'm like, he hasn't mentioned this yet. I'm just here waiting.
You're used to week 17 being the last week still. It's well.
No, because I was looking at the Brown Steelers game. It's like, to make my spread pick. So I scrolled that far down.
Oh, so
like
you
I
got
was
it
looking.
next week.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I see minus 11. He has not mentioned this yet.
That's funny.
No, that should be an interesting Saturday night game. I don't know what to think of it, but Packers have already beat them in a very close game earlier in the season. I take that back. Didn't the Vikings win that one? Luke?
That's a good
It
question.
was an overtime game or late game.
What a shocker. A Vikings game going to overtime.
Right?
Well, exactly.
I think the Vikings won. Hold on, I'll let you know in a second.
They always play the Packers tough.
They beat the Packers by 3, 34-31, not in overtime. It was a game-ending field goal though, like as time expired, so close enough. It's
close enough.
Every
competitive game.
typical
So.
Vikings game.
Yeah, every Vikings game coming down the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, they've had an interesting year. I picked them early in the year to be maybe, I don't know. I think I picked them 9-8, 10-7, which is not too far off if you got a couple of those wins back in the column for being close. But
The Vikings should have.
So,
like,
guys, if y'all want
11
to
wins right now.
start introducing your lineups, we'll go from there.
Gosh, let me actually share my screen before I forget. Let me minimize Discord. Boom. 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 All right. Where is mine? There we go. Quarterback here. We went with the cheapest starting quarterback for the week. We are going to go with Trey Lance at 48. We know he's going to rush for like 2 touchdowns, and that'll be all of his points. He might get some passing yards here and there, but I'm expecting like 15, 16 points because he's going to get his 2 rushing touchdowns. At running back, we're going to go with the best running back in football, Jonathan Taylor. We went all in. There's pretty much nothing that needs to be said about Jonathan Taylor at this point. He should be considered an MVP candidate. Yeah, he didn't score a touchdown last week, which, that was like his first game, like pretty much under 20. But other than that, he's giving you a lot of points every week. And he's up against the Raiders and pretty much a must. Every game for everybody is a must win. So you expect your superstars to ball out in these kind of games. Running back 2, we try to find a cheap, viable option. Devin Singletary has been pretty good the last few weeks. So if Buffalo decides, they should be giving the running backs a lot more touches, and Singletary has been taking advantage of the touches that he is getting as of late. I've been very high on this receiver for the last month, so we're going to stay on this train that I've been riding for a while. I'm on Ross St. Brown, 6K. He's going to be against Seattle. I think they have like me playing defense out there, so I'm going to assume St. Brown's going to continue to eat. I was pretty high on him. It was a shame to see him go to Detroit of all teams, but he's playing very well. Receiver 2, DJ Moore, 5,600. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is; he's going to perform. Sure, 10 points last week isn't like the greatest, but he's averaging 15 points a game, right? So that's pretty much what I'm looking for out of him at this point. And he does very well against the Saints. So I think that continues this week. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is. I think they're going to have all 4 playing this week. Who knows?
I think the coach is going to start at quarterback this week.
Yeah, right. I mean, at this point, I think DJ Moore is going to throw to Cam Newton instead.
You know, I consider DJ Moore as well. If you click on his thing again, look at his first 3 weeks with Sam Darnold. It was almost his best 3 weeks of the year.
Well, yeah.
So if Darnold plays the whole game, that's when Darnold started getting pulled. Darnold actually does throw to his best player, so I like him better with Darnold as well. I almost had him in, but I couldn't fit him.
And then we went Barrios at 3,700. At receiver 3, the last 3 weeks, 15, 10, and 11. I'll take that for somebody that's 3,700. You'll take that all day. At tight end, I mean, it wouldn't be me if I didn't pick Hunter Henry at 4,200. I'm expecting a big bounce back week here from New England because they've come out flat the last 2 weeks, which is fine, right? They've played some good defenses, and Mac is still a rookie. But I'm expecting for the Patriots to put up like 50 in this game. You know, they got to come out and show the doubters and the haters that they're for real, and they're just going to beat up on a team that they should be beating up on anyway. So that's where we went. Top it all off, we went Patriots defense. They're favored by like 1 million points for a reason. Defense brings the intensity back that they've had during the winning streak, because I don't know where they've been at the last 2 weeks. So they let Josh Allen and Jonathan Taylor literally do whatever they want. And they don't have those kind of players in Jacksonville. Now they come in New England to play. So like I said, I'm expecting for the Patriots to put up 50. Defense.
Did you see it's the first time you played them since the AFC title game? That's what I've seen on Twitter today. But if you think about that, how much different are both teams since then? Just 3 years ago. I mean, that Jacksonville team was fun.
Oh, Saxonville?
Like you were saying, the Jags don't have any talent.
Yeah, no, Saxonville was really good. It's just they had trash at quarterback.
They should have won that game, but, Patriots got away with murder like always. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, well, now they can't get away with anything, so.
And we had coming back.
Yeah, right? But at 7,400, we used every single penny on Mark Andrews. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Lamar Jackson, Huntley, Robert Griffin, whoever they had last week.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah, that guy.
I think it's going to be Huntley this week. Sounds like Lamar, he couldn't practice today. He limped around yesterday, and Huntley's out of COVID. So I think it's going to be
Doesn't even matter. If I'm the quarterback, I'm throwing him the ball.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter who the quarterback is. He's going to ball out. So there was pretty much nothing that needs to be said about Mark Andrews and Jonathan Taylor. Everybody else, I had my reasons. My lineup. I'm on Ross St. Brown. Doesn't I guess it didn't matter who the quarterback was. He still gave me 26.
No kidding.
Hey. Man, what are those stats on him? I'll run St. Brown over the last, month.
26, 9 of 11, 8 of 11, 8 of 12, 10 of 12. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
No,
I forgot. I think it was Luke that mentioned the change in quarterback. I don't even remember who the quarterback was that played. I was just like, well, the one that they're gonna have to throw. They're gonna have to throw short. Usually, when quarterbacks are playing for the first time or whatever the case is, they don't throw it to the deep receivers. Those are the ones that suffer. So I was like, I'm on Ross St. Brown. He's gonna be right there for the checkdowns, little 5-yard passes. Take that, and he had a touchdown.
We've got a pretty amazing rookie class of wide receivers for sure.
Yeah, I just wish Bateman would get some more love.
He did he scored his first touchdown, of course, with Josh Johnson.
Unbelievable.
He will. He's got a good future ahead of him. I don't have many pivots, man. We have three of the same players, and I think the Patriots are the number one D of the week. I don't think Jackson. No, I mean me personally.
Oh, okay.
I just think they're going to have the best scoring output. I don't think Jacksonville scores more than 10 and could be a few turnovers and possibly defensive score. So I'm all about the Patriots this week for defense.
Judon all day. Yeah, he better have like 5 sacks.
I learned something new about DraftKings last week because I had Barrios in my lineup too, okay? And he had 5 for 37 last week. He returned a kickoff. DraftKings gives the touchdowns to kickoff returns to the players and the defense. I did not know that.
I didn't either. I was wondering why he had so many points left from last week.
Yeah, because I played him in my home league, and I'm like, what the heck? Why do you? And I said, he just returned a kick. I had no idea that's how DraftKings scored it. So look at that. We all learned something new. Because I looked at the stat line. He had 5 for 37. Like, he should only have 8 points. But he returned a kickoff. So you get Barrios. He's the kick returner. Now, I don't know his chances running a kickoff back every week, but you have that upside, and that's something maybe we need to look at more to the future. Possible who returns kicks and plays receivers is definitely an upside because that was news to me. So if you feel like stacking the Jets D and Barrios, get a kick return, it's double points, but I don't think anybody's playing the Jets D versus Tom Brady.
That might be the only way to score a touchdown. So
yeah, right.
Maybe. Brian, do you have any pivots? I don't mind.
It's a really solid lineup. I like what he's got going on there.
Yeah.
I'm always scared to do double tight end because I think that, but with those two, you got touchdown upside with Henry and Mark Andrews has just been straight fire NBA Jam style lately. So
what were the scores last week? I forgot.
I had 180, Maverick 165, Brian 137.
Yeah, not a bad week, man.
And then the spread picks completely flipped. Brian was 4-2, Mav was 3-3, I was 0-6. So me and Brian,
yeah, I went like 1-5 the week before.
Me and Brian flipped, and Mav stayed in the middle on both.
Yeah,
you were middle on the pick.
On my spread picks the last 4 weeks. I'm actually 17-7 now. So
that's because I went Mac Jones at quarterback, so that's where I messed up.
Yeah, the 180 helped the Burrow to T Higgins connection. Really, that was like 80 points right there. That was.
Oh, and I had Mark Henry as my tight end. So yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And I will say this, just so I would be different last week. I changed up a lineup because I don't think anybody wants to hear the exact same lineup. But Luke and I were very similar. I had
you should have left it
connection too.
Yeah,
I still would have been last. I had like 152. So.
All right, I'll go ahead. Unless you have any of your own pivots, Mav. Sorry, do you have any? Okay. For me, I went Jalen Hurts at quarterback at 6,600. Kind of like the Trey Lance, who's popular today, I realize. Got a big rushing upside, and we've seen what Dallas just did to the Washington D. Holy crap. That was like watching a big college team versus a MAC school. That was embarrassing Sunday night. I don't think Washington gets much better, so I think Jalen Hurts has a good game. And he just had a good game against them 2 weeks ago, so I think Washington's going the wrong way. Eagles are going the other way. Eagles could make the playoffs, it looks like. And without Miles Sanders, I think that helps him a little bit more. I don't think Boston Scott's as much talented as Miles Sanders. He'll still get some run, but I think Hurts could be in for another big day.
Wasn't it Mav earlier in the season that said he'd never use Miles Sanders for anything?
I think so.
Nope.
It's that and Evan Ingram.
Yup, both. Never in my lineup.
He's
ever.
still right about Ingram.
These running backs, this is funny, but this is Taylor and Singletary. Me and Mav, the same head here. Taylor needs nothing to say, and they might not have Carson Wentz, so he might get 45 carries if he doesn't play. He might even just run Wildcat. I don't think Sam Ellinger or whatever is good.
Even if Wentz plays, like they're going to
run the doesn't ball. Matter.
Wentz is terrible.
There's no explanation for Taylor. Like you said, he should be MVP conversation, and he's definitely the fantasy. Him and Cooper Kupp are the fantasy MVP conversation.
Honestly, they should just give the MVP to Taylor because there's not a single quarterback that's impressed me this year.
Right. Yeah, it'll go to Rodgers or Mahomes. That's what will end up happening. And Singletary, like you already said, he's became the guy the last 3 weeks. The Zach Moss thing is over, and the Matt Breida show was fun for 2 weeks or whatever it was. But Buffalo, I think, realized they need a running game, and they picked one, and they're running with them. And they should be up big on Atlanta and should be able to use him at the end. Probably get a touchdown in the second half, too. So,
in all fairness, did either one of y'all think at the beginning of the season you would associate the word good with Singletary?
No. I don't like any of their running backs. I still don't think next year's running backs on this roster. I think they're going to get one or draft one next year. Personally.
I didn't think they were gonna be running the ball that much either because they just never. They're just a pass first team.
Moss is kind of just a plotter kind of guy. He'll get you 3 yards. He was nothing special. Singletary at least can give you the catching out of the backfield, I guess. So they're nothing special, but Singletary's better than Moss, and Buffalo's finally seen that too. So Taylor and Singletary, we're gonna have Cooper Kupp in there for 9,500. So the first thing I did this week, I said I want to try to get a lineup with Kupp and Taylor and see how the heck it looks because that's 18,000 right there. And boy, it was fun. I originally had Matt Stafford with Kupp, but I couldn't afford the 500 extra because we all seen the Ravens secondary last week against the Bengals. Cooper Kupp might have 20 catches this week. It's very possible. I think Stafford's going to have a field day with Baltimore secondary, who's about got us 3 playing corner at this point with all their injuries.
I don't know. It is Stafford. He threw 3 picks against Minnesota.
Man, he was bad. He was not the reason they won that game. He cost me a trip to one of my fantasy championships, but I'm not going to go into that. That's a rabbit hole. My next receiver is coming back off the COVID list, Cole Beasley at 4,900. Sounds like we're all kind of liking the Bills this week. He's a PPR guy. They're all back this week. I
am never liking the Bills any week. Let's not.
Well, you have Singletary, okay?
Yeah, no, but let's not go. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
I am a little worried because the emergence of Gabe Davis and Davis, Sanders, and Beasley are all going to be playing in this game. But I think he's the safest slot option, and I think 10 points is a good floor for him. So I like him a lot at 4,900.
I think Davis will be the one that fades in the background again.
Yeah. We'll see. He might get a bomb. That's what Davis does. He might get one. We'll see what happens. Staphon Digs has not been what Diggs did last year at all. He's had a few games, but last year he was like kind of like the Cooper Kupp, kind of was like a 5th-round pick and redraft and blew up. So it's interesting to see who might that receiver be next year because the last couple of years, a 4th or 5th-round receiver in the redraft leagues is kind of blown up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. This year we kind of had 2 between Kupp and Deebo Samuel, and Deebo went even later.
I'm going to throw out the name for next year, T. Higgins.
I hope so. He's getting hot at the end of the year, especially for one of my dynasty teams. It's the only reason I won one league. For my next receiver, already mentioned Braxton Barrios, 3,700. Mav already talked about him. He's too cheap for what he will get you, and they're going to be losing, and Tampa's secondary isn't good, and he could have 5 for 50 minimum this week. So they're going to be throwing a lot this game. I don't think they keep it close with Tampa. I don't think anybody expects the Jets to pull one off here. So Braxton Barrios is fine. At tight end, we're going to go Gerald Everett, 4,100. It's been very consistent the last 3 weeks, and the Lions are the Lions, and they give up points to the tight end too. And he's been nice for Russell Wilson, who still doesn't seem 100% healthy and doesn't want to throw it deep all the time. He's getting a little bit better the last few weeks, but I like Everett, Metcalf, and Lockett this week. You can play any of them. So I went with the cheap tight end with the Cooper Kupp Taylor stack. We had to go somewhere. Another cheapie in the flex. We're going to go Mecole Hardman. This is a complete shot in the dark. This is a boom or bust play 100%. I am not a fan of doing these type of plays, but when I played Kupp and Taylor, I didn't really have a choice. He's 4K. Yeah, we had to go real cheap.
He almost had, I think he had 8.7 or 9 points last week. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, and a game with the Bengals
whether
should
Hill's
be
been
fun.
back more than last week.
Yeah, I think the Hill thing was we're blowing out Pittsburgh. He's kind of been a little hand. Why would they, risk him? And they didn't need him last week. So
he said he was still worn out from the COVID too. So
yeah, that's the COVID. You never know. There was that report that Allen Robinson came out and said he lost 10 pounds and he's not himself and he had it bad. So we don't know what all these guys are going through on a personal matter with the COVID list. And then for my defense, I'm going with the Giants at 2,800. I've mentioned multiple times their D is not as bad. It was 3-3 at the Eagles at halftime. I think they just got worn out because their offense is so pathetic and they get on the field after 3 plays all the time. And the Bears offense doesn't scare me at all. So I think for a cheap defense, which I had to go, I don't mind it. What should be a low scoring game and possibly a couple of turnovers. So that was my lineup trying to do a Taylor Kupp stack. If one of them does not pay off, obviously the lineup's going to be a bust. They both have to have their games for this lineup to be, pay for what it was. So if you guys have anything.
No, not off the top of my head, but one thing I would say, you're talking about Taylor and Kupp having to have their game. They've had their game pretty much every one this year. The only difference between Taylor and I think it was last week, he didn't score. The only difference between him and every other game is he actually didn't score last week. So,
yeah. The one cheaper tight end I did consider was Foster Moreau at 3,800 against the Colts. So that's
has he actually done anything? I started paying attention to him after he had like a few bust games.
He had a decent game last week. It wasn't crazy, but it was better than what he's done. And I think the week before he did too, right?
Yeah, 10 and 13. But it's like
for 3,800.
3 weeks before that, 4, 4, and 1. I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. Now, the question I've got, I'm 99.9% positive Waller's not playing this week. But as of yesterday, he was having concerns with the COVID designation. But I've also heard he has been ruled out for the year on IR. Have y'all heard one way or the other?
I heard IR is what I heard. So that's just what I heard. I don't think we're going to see him again. I think the injury was worse than they let on in the beginning, and they just didn't kind of let it out.
The update here from yesterday is he's on the COVID list.
Yeah. So he's not playing this week, and why would they play him, at this point? I don't think we're going to see him again this year.
No, not unless we're still possibly in a playoff race like everybody else in week 18, and that would still be a stretch. So,
yeah, that's all I had. It's kind of hard to pivot when you have all these cheap options. They're pretty much pivot plays other than Taylor. Now, if you take Taylor or Cup out, then you got to blow the whole lineup up. But unless you go down from Hurts to Trey Lance, and the reason I didn't stack Jalen Hurts is because I tried to do Goddard, and I don't really like stacking him with anybody else because I don't trust Devontae Smith. I don't trust any of the receivers. I think if you don't stack him with Goddard, you can't really stack him with anybody. So, and with his rushing upside, I don't feel like you have to stack Jalen Hurts.
And the other half of that is, like you said, Sanders is out this week, and you wouldn't really trust a running back. But something to keep in mind for another week for anybody listening is the best stacking option for them really is Sanders and Hurts.
Wait, hold on. I didn't watch the game at all because I assumed it was going to be bad. What happened in that Steelers-Chiefs game? Tyreek Hill gave you 3 points.
Yeah, we just mentioned it. They kind of didn't use them because they didn't need them. And then once it was like 24-0, they were just like, "Hey, dude, just chill."
But how was it even 24-0 before he even did anything? That's the crazy part.
Well, it was a lot of short fields. We tried a stupid ass flea flicker and Ben threw it right to a guy, and then Deontay Johnson just dropped the. Don't get me started. All right,
God.
Listen, this is a very emotional weekend. This is Roethlisberger's last home game. I'm not in the mood for this. I'm going to be watching that game in the dark with candlelight. Okay, send him off with the gods. All right. Our only hope is we steal the division.
Mason, to be honest.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh can still win the North, which is wild. If the Bengals lose their last two, we win our last two. Pittsburgh wins the North, and that's crazy. And the Bengals play the Chiefs and the Browns.
Yeah, I was about to say. So, my biggest concern is that the Browns can beat the Bengals. But I think there's a shot of all that to happen. Who knows?
You guys got to beat the Browns first.
Oh, exactly.
We beat them the first time. We'll see if we can beat them again. And the Browns beat the Bengals the first time, so maybe.
Baker's undefeated against the Bengals.
Oh, that's true. I forgot when that came out the first time.
We'll see how it goes. It ain't over yet.
We're big Chiefs fans this week. That's all I can say. That's going to be a fun game, though. That's why I didn't mind Mecole Hardman, which should be a fun game with Burrow and Mahomes. Has Burrow even played Mahomes yet in his career? This is probably his first matchup.
Probably his first. He only played 10 games.
Yeah. I don't think he played last year.
Or so.
All right. Brian, what do you got for us?
Well, I mean, I kind of went similar to Mav in some aspects. I started out with Trey Lance at quarterback.
What is he again?
Like it was said, he's sitting at 4,800. One thing to keep in mind about Trey Lance, Jimmy G, I don't see him playing, but they haven't ruled him out yet. He's the closest thing to being ruled out that I've ever seen. But
that's what I was wondering when I seen you guys all putting Trey Lance in, because I haven't paid attention to Niners practice or anything this week. I didn't know he was officially out yet.
Yeah, he has a UCL tear.
So what I will say is this: people have been watching us for 17 weeks. You can probably figure out by now that I either go cheap at quarterback or cheap at tight end, but it's hard. It's hard to go expensive at both. So what I would do is if Lance isn't the starter, just go cheaper than my tight end that I'm getting ready to list. You got options there. Like example, Luke said he wouldn't do it. I don't mind it. Would be Hurts and Goddard. That's not the worst play in the world. But there are some examples out there of somebody you could go cheap at tight end.
Henry,
without doing a lot more talking, is Kittle. That's my stack for this week. He's sitting at 7,100. Then my two running backs are Chase Edmonds. I don't like the matchup against the Cowboys, but last week James Conner didn't play, and so far he's had two DNPs on Wednesday and Thursday, so I don't think he's going to play this week. And Edmonds had 26 points off the top of my head, 26 or 27. So, I'm liking that. He's at 5,700. And the other running back, he's kind of had his second half boom, just like last year, David Montgomery. He's at 6,500. So those are my running backs. Like I said, I don't love the matchup against the Cowboys for Edmonds, but if he's the only show in town, he'll do fine. It'd be one of the more competitive games, high scoring, or should be. And then my three wide receivers, got to keep this name in mind. Antonio Brown missed practice today, probably just because he's older. Who knows? Maybe a rest day. But he's sitting at, what is this? He's sitting at 6,100, looks like. And the guy I just mentioned, that's my dark horse for next year, T. Higgins, 6,900. 4 out of the last 5 games, he's had over 113 yards receiving. He's been quietly better than Jamar Chase for the last month and a half. And then the other guy, it's just a target hog. Kind of hard to go away from him. I think he missed COVID the week before, if memory serves me. And Waddle came back on Monday night and went off for like 25 fantasy points. So he had another huge game. 6,700 for him. And my last two guys, so I was having a hard time figuring out a flex play at less than 4,000. I kind of wanted to fit in. So I double tight in this week as well. I agree. I don't love that play, but I'm thinking Komet for the Bears will get targets anyway. So I went with him at 3,400. I wanted to go with Josh Palmer. For the Chargers. He had a big game last week, but I just saw before we came on the air that Mike Williams was actually activated from the COVID list. So all the receivers are back in town. Jalen Guyton, Allen, Mike Williams. So I don't see it. And Eckler will play too, it looks like. So I think it'll be back to the drawing board for Palmer. But he's a guy that if particularly I've got him in a dynasty league, if you're looking for a name, you might get it out for cheap. He went to the University of Tennessee, and I'm a Vanderbilt graduate, so let's not say that I'm a big fan of his. But I think that he can do quite well moving forward. So keep him in mind. And last but not least, I don't necessarily love or hate the matchup. It's kind of neutral. But I took the Dolphins defense at 2,800 against the Titans. So, like I said, I don't love or hate the matchup, but the Dolphins have been really special here lately. So that's kind of my lineup.
You have a quick, easy pivot. If AB does miss, you can go down 100 and play Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I've got that written down at a pivot. And like I said, I think Lance is going to play. But if not, I think salary-wise, it would be pretty close to fit in. Off the top of my head, it's 11.5 for Goddard and Hurts. And it looks like it is maybe 11.2. I'd have to actually it's 12.2 on Kittle and Lance. So I could fit that stack in if I wanted to go that route. So
I was so mad as a Brandon Cooks owner seeing what the Texans were doing to the Chargers without him playing, knowing what kind of game he probably could have had, the way the Texans were moving the ball in the Chargers. And what the heck happened in that game? Like, really? I mean, the old Chargers are back, losing games they shouldn't, but they could not. I mean, the Texans were just kicking their ass.
I called that.
There's another name. If Brandon Cooks.
You did. We talked you off picking it. I'm sorry.
I called that. And then I was just like, damn, Brandon Cooks isn't playing. Who's he going to throw the ball to?
Right.
But I was like, this is a game the Chargers would lose.
Davis Mills has been playing really well.
Yeah, he's might be legit. Like, it's funny. We all made fun of the Texans, but
it's the Tyrod Taylor effect.
Right. So
the pivot I made in case Antonio Brown doesn't play, and we know how much you like not going expensive tight ends or whatever the case is. So we went from Kittle to Hunter Henry, and we went from Antonio Brown to Deebo Samuel.
That's actually a good swap off. I would definitely give that a sign of approval.
And you got $300 to play with.
Wow.
So are we expecting Gronk to come back? 2 straight bad games, getting the Jets at 6,200. He's been kind of rough last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
the Saints, because everybody else died. And
look at his targets in the Saints game.
Yeah,
What the
11.
heck?
He had 11. And then he just had 2 against. I guess he just took the day off against.
I don't
the
know.
Panthers.
Like I don't think I can play him this week till I see him bounce back a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him.
Well, keep in mind Godwin's still out. I think Evans is being activated off of COVID, but still, some players don't immediately come back well.
Nah, COVID has like a fatigue effect on players.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing I don't see, I guess Tom Brady, from what I read, I guess Brady had 30 pass attempts last week. And
yes.
AB had 15 targets. I don't see AB having a 50% target share again. That's kind of nuts.
We'll say too, if you can pay for Travis Kelce, the Bengals have been getting shredded by tight ends the last 3
Well,
weeks.
the thing is with AB, I mean, sure, he hasn't played since week 6. He had 15 and 13 in week 6, and in week 4, he had 11. So he does see plenty targets.
Yeah.
He does. I don't think he'll see 50% again.
And Mike Evans and Godwin are still out. So.
If he doesn't see 50%, that just means Brady's going to throw more.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree.
So the last 3 weeks, this is the Bengals against tight ends. They've given up 8 for 125 and 1, 8 for 115, and 13 for 151 and 1. If you can pay for Travis Kelce, do it, because he's going to probably come back and show people why he's Travis Kelce, because the Bengals are just getting shredded. And the Bengals' top 2 linebackers could be out. So if you could pay for him, get him in there.
The other thing is with both Hill and Kelce, even though they've been battling COVID, I anticipate this is such a huge game for the Chiefs. They'll be all in this week.
One cheap running back couldn't get to him with Singletary. I originally had Rashard Penny at 6,100, who's been very good last 2 weeks, and the Lions can't stop their run. So I don't mind Rashard Penny this week.
What do you think about Daryl Williams?
Is CH officially out?
I think he's going to be out. I don't think he's rolled out yet.
I don't know what the Bengals are officially against the run, but I feel like they've been decent. But I could be wrong. But
yeah,
I just think it's a Mahomes passing.
He hasn't
game.
practiced yet. He's not officially out yet, though.
The Bengals are 29th against the run, so they're not good. No, I'm sorry, they're 19th.
Okay.
So, and then
I don't mind it.
Do y'all think Cam Akers is playing this week?
I'm not trusting that. Nope. I'm not going there. I think it's still the Sonny Michel show.
And he's still cheap.
Yeah, they don't want to raise his price either.
Go
ahead, Brian.
I've got him as a pivot. He's sitting at 5,600, so they're still undervaluing him.
If I don't know which Niners running back it's going to be, but if Mitchell plays, he's 6K, and if he doesn't, Jeff Wilson's 56. If one's out, play Wilson. If Mitchell plays, I think you can play Mitchell. I just think you can go either one, whoever's the starter.
Yeah, I have that too.
I don't know if Mitchell's playing. I haven't heard anything about Elijah Mitchell this week. The one league I have in Dynasty, I was eliminated, so I just kind of stopped paying attention to my players. So I don't know.
And I forgot to write it down. Who are they playing this week?
Houston.
Yeah, Houston's 29th against the run, so just keep that in mind. It's a late game, just like Trey Lance, but just keep some open eyes there. There's definitely opportunities with either one of those 2 running backs.
You know who I would play that nobody's mentioned yet?
Who's that?
Damian Harris.
Yeah, he's on my list.
31 points last week and 20 the week and 20 against.
Are you worried at all about Stevenson being active again?
He hasn't practiced yet. They just activated him. They just activated him today. So even if he does play, he's not going to see the workload to really shut down what Damian Harris is going to do.
If Harris is hired, he'll come in basically.
Yeah, I mean, what they were doing before is one drive Harris, one drive Stevenson, but I don't think they really do that this week. I think he might come in a drive here and there, but not like every other drive.
Now, if it's 30-0 at half, you might see Stevenson a lot in the second half.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But that's the only thing.
Yeah, but by the time it's 30-0, Harris is going to get like 2 or 3.
Right, it'll be good either
red
way.
Zone touchdowns. Yeah, he might just Mac Jones and not Cam Newton. Like the running back see the goal line carries.
Right.
I didn't love a lot of other inexpensive quarterbacks besides Lance and Hurts. So 3 quarterbacks that are a little less expensive that I wouldn't mind are Stafford. I don't know if you can expect. I mean, obviously can't expect the same results from Burrow, but he's got another good matchup.
I think you can expect it. I think the Ravens secondary is that depleted. But
and then
we'll see.
And then for Burrow, I don't know he can do the same thing against the Chiefs, but they're 27th against the pass, so they're not much better. And last but not least, it's a tougher matchup. But Dak Prescott last week finally saw a flicker of hope. He's been so bad for about 4 or 5 weeks. I don't mind him. So he's at 6,700. So those are 3 quarterback options. Like I said, besides Hurts, and I just didn't like anybody besides Hurts and Lance that were cheap.
One cheap guy I do like still is Tua, because the Titans secondary isn't that great. As long as the O-line can block, 5,800. If you want to stack him and Waddle, I'm 100% fine with that.
I don't know. He's not like a fantasy.
Yeah, that's why his price is. But the Titans D is not. The back end isn't good. We'll see. Jalen Waddle is a star in the making. So
yeah,
could be. I had a couple receiver. I mean, we keep mentioning the Rams, OBJ and Van Jefferson. I think you can throw them both out there, 57 and 5,300. Van Jefferson had like 8 targets or something. Only had like 1 catch last week. So I think he bounces back big this week and could catch a big score.
Renfro's back down to 6,500.
Yeah, I'm playing against him in a fantasy championship game this weekend. So hopefully he just gets hurt in the first quarter.
Wow.
Nothing major.
Yeah, just the game.
Just a practical.
You guys like Brandon Iuke, 5,900?
I don't mind Iuke. I actually like that entire 49ers offense this week.
Yeah.
Not with Trey Lance, I don't.
That's a good point. That's why I was scared off of Kittle this week. But I think if there's one young quarterbacks go to tight ends, though, and Debo's going to get running back. So I get your point with Trey Lance that may be a little scared off Iuke, but I wouldn't mind taking one shot at him.
One thing Coach Shanahan said over the last month, that they've seen drastic improvement from Lance. And the 2 games he played earlier in the season, I know part of it was rushing. He still was decent. He had close to 200 yards, and he averaged 18 fantasy points per game. So,
the last 2 names I want to throw out there is just because they're going to be down, I think. Russell Gage, 5,600, should get a lot of targets again. But the Bills are tough against the pass, but I still think he could have a decent game. And is anybody chasing Isaiah McKenzie from last week, or was that just kind of a fluke game?
That's a fluke game only because I like McKenzie. But the only reason I say it's a fluke game because all the other receivers are back, and he's the last man on the totem pole.
Yeah. I was disappointed Tyler Johnson didn't have a catch last week without Evans and Godwin.
Yeah, I thought he'd have something too.
He only had 36 snaps. So that's kind of a bummer. Like, I kind of like them in dynasty circles, so maybe need to go back to the drawing board on that one. So
a name to throw out there. I'm assuming Brandon Cooks is back to full form, but if not, Nico Collins had over 10 fantasy points. He had close to 12, I think. He had scored a touchdown too, if memory serves me.
Yeah, they had like 4 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown.
It wasn't exciting, but for $4,000, you could do a lot worse.
I think the Texans had a sneaky good draft last year. Davis, Mills, and Nico, and the Brevlin Jordan tight end, I think could be all relevant sooner than later. I like that Jordan. He's an athletic tight end, and he's been playing more and more. And I think the Texans, as much as they got made fun of, actually did not have a terrible offseason.
They had a good offseason. It'll take a few years, a few good draft picks and stuff like that to get back, but they're not far off of some teams.
They've got some sneaky good assets there in Dynasty. They definitely need to work on the
And I think Jordan's sitting at 20.
Offensive and defensive lines now. And that's how you win games. Pittsburgh fans know that this year, don't we?
Yeah. I think Jordan's sitting
I've added Jordan every Dynasty league I could.
And I think he's sitting at 2,800 this week on DraftKings. So. Brevin Jordan.
Yeah. All right. Ready for some spread picks, unless anybody's got anything else? I think I threw out all the names I wrote down.
I've got one more name.
Okay.
Tyler Higbee sitting at 4,000.
Okay. See, he's who I had originally over Gerald Everett, and I flipped back.
I was like, who's that again? Oh, God.
Yeah, they're
so out of it.
They're playing those horrid Ravens, 28th ranked against the tight end. So I don't mind that.
Between the second Rams receivers, are you guys preferring Van Jefferson or OBJ if you had to pick one?
I leaning OBJ.
Goes to OBJ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Touchdown upside for sure. He scored every game but one since he joined the Rams. So.
Yeah.
And he might be a rental. He might be a free agent again. I'm very interested in what happens in his offseason with him and Robert Woods, what the Rams decide to do.
He's going to New England.
Stop it.
He's going to Pittsburgh.
Stop it. No, that's even worse.
I wouldn't want him personally.
OBJ and Claypool in the same team? That sounds great.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. Don't know.
That sounds great for whoever becomes a
We
quarterback.
might as well go get AB back. Have some more mental on our team.
I was thinking they could go to the hairstylist together is all I was thinking. So.
Go call Martavius Bryant. See if he can stop.
Exactly. He's missing out.
All right, so let's see. I did not pick New England this week.
What?
Did not. What I did instead.
I hope you're feeling all right. We might need to give you a wellness check.
That's what I was about to say. I hate the Jersey so far.
They've disappointed me way too much the last 2 weeks.
Something is wrong with Mav.
So disappointing the last 2 weeks.
You don't think they cover against Jacksonville?
I was just so disappointed the last 2 weeks. I didn't want to click on them.
You're like a boyfriend and a girlfriend and Mav relationship. Like, I'm off you this week. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, just show me that you can win the way you're supposed to, and then
show me you care.
And then I'll come back next week.
Okay.
But what I did instead, because y'all are my boys, I picked Cleveland -3.5.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
I really don't have faith in Big Ben. I don't even know what I was watching last week. Like, that was terrible. It was to a point where I thought, like, damn, these guys are getting burnt by like Tyreek Hill, because I don't even know who else is on the field for Kansas City. And meanwhile, I looked, I was like, wait, 3 points? And
Byron Pringle, 2 touchdowns.
I think it was the rushing touchdown that I saw. I'm like, man, what is Pittsburgh even doing? And then I did see the flea flicker. I'm like, what is this? And then was it Deontay Johnson? He's running up the ball. It just floats up in the air. I'm like, what am I even watching right now? It's like the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Generals. I really had no idea what I was watching. It was bad.
You got any other picks there, or are you gonna? You got anything else?
Can we mute, man?
Oh, jeez.
So as much as we both picked Trey Lance, I really don't see why they are 12-point favorites. I went with Houston here. I don't think the 49ers cover. I think the 49ers are one of those teams that have been probably one of the biggest disappointments in football this year. With all this talent, sure, a ton of injuries, but so is everybody else. And yeah, I really don't see how they cover here. Sure, they're 8-7. That's like, come on. Their roster is better than New England's, and they're only 8-7. Sorry, I don't see how they cover.
Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why the record's 8-7.
Yeah, no, I've always said this. He's not good. He's very average.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, but he led the NFL in passing touchdowns, or like he was like top 5 or whatever the case is. I'm like, yeah, with 20. Are you serious? This is what we're doing? He's average. He's
holding them back so bad. If they could just get a quarterback.
No, and then he's like, oh, but they win with him. Like, yeah, because he's better than I call him Beathard. I'm sorry, but he's better than Beathard and Mullins. That's all you're telling me here.
Yeah.
Like I said last week with the Packers, when they play in Lambeau and they're favored by more than 3 points, they don't cover because they play from behind, and it usually ends in a game-winning drive by Aaron Rodgers or something. And if Baker doesn't throw like 9 picks, the Packers get blown out here. That's like, I don't even see how. I'm sorry, Rodgers is not the MVP. He did not play well last week. If Baker doesn't gift them 10 picks, the Packers get blown out. Like, it was really bad.
I like this better. Talk shit about the Browns. This is getting better, Mav.
No, Baker was terrible.
Oh, he was.
I don't even know what I was watching last week.
But
I'm not even a Browns fan, and I was so upset I had to watch this.
I will say they did have a couple very questionable calls that went the Packers' way. That kind of.
Yeah, they were literally getting the call that New England would get.
I'm so proud you can admit that.
No, I can admit
there's not many Patriots fans that will.
No, okay, so like I'm hella biased, but I am like, I'm real, right? I keep it real. There are some calls like, so the Pittsburgh tight end, I forgot what his name was when he dropped it, right?
Jesse James.
Yes, realistically, that's a touchdown. But the way the NFL calls what catches are, that's a drop. That's the NFL's fault. That's not because, it's New England. That's the NFL's fault because they don't know what the hell a catch is. Same thing with Des Bryant and Calvin Johnson from years before that. Mm-hmm. So in the NFL, like to the NFL, that's a drop. Yes, that's why I was like, yes, that's a drop. I'm sorry. But realistically, like, yeah, that's a touchdown.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, like Packers, I don't see them covering -7. So give me the Vikings. Another game I picked Seattle -7. I honestly had no idea I watched like, I think maybe the first half. And I thought the Seahawks won last week. They really lost to the Bears last week.
Ending drive and a game-winning 2-point conversion, which if you didn't see, look it up. It was a heck of a catch by I think Demir Bird. I could be wrong, but it was a heck of a catch in the back of the end zone.
But I mean, in Seattle, tough place to play in. It is still Detroit. I think Seattle, they're playing for pride here. They don't have a draft pick for God knows how long, because they traded all of it. So there's no point in tanking. So they have to keep playing.
Yep.
So -7 against Detroit in Seattle. I'm going with Russ to hopefully he remembers how to play football at this point because nobody's playing well. We went Dallas -6. Micah Parsons might have like 9 sacks this week because the Cardinals O-line is terrible. Kyler Murray can't really sit in the pocket without him panicking and running all over the place. There's no D-hop, so nobody's going to get open or command a double team or anything like that or demand a double team. I can't speak. So I think Dallas probably blows him out here. And I don't think Dak really has that big of a game because it's not going to be needed. Everybody had Dak as a top 5 fantasy quarterback. And I'm like, you have to hope that their defense is ranked 30th again. Because I said, I forgot who I was talking to. I literally said, if the Dallas Cowboys defense is not ranked 30th and they're not playing from 2 scores behind, Dak is not a top 5 fantasy quarterback because he's not going to be asked to throw the ball that many times. And that's exactly what's happening this year. Dak is underperforming along with CeeDee Lamb and their entire offense because they're not throwing the ball so much. So, but I still do think they blow out Arizona. Micah Parsons is going to have like 10 sacks, defensive player of the year, MVP. Just give him everything at this point. And then my upset of the week actually is give me the Bengals +4.5.
Ooh, okay.
I want the Chiefs to lose. It's not that I need them because I don't think Buffalo loses to the Falcons. So I don't want to see Buffalo as the first seed, but I really do think the Bengals are that good. And I think this is one of those games that is Kansas City teams. The good teams, if you look at the Titans and the Bills, they usually, the good teams against when they play like the Chiefs and the Bucks, they bring it together and they put their best foot forward. And I think the Bengals do that this week. They show why they're the best team in the AFC North.
Stop it. It's true though.
You got 3. Oh, I saw the stats of all 3 receivers. They're actually very close in receptions. I didn't know that.
For the Bengals?
Yeah. Very close in receptions. Yeah, very close.
That's interesting. I didn't think Tyler Boyd was that close. I know he's had a couple big games. That's interesting to know.
Somebody posted it. Stats. 68 for Chase, 71 for Higgins, and 63 for Boyd. And then you got 45 for Uzoma.
That is definitely didn't know Boyd was that close. I knew the other 2 were close, Chase and Higgins, but I didn't know Boyd was up there.
Chase has the most yards, which is still surprising actually because I feel like he hasn't done anything the last few weeks.
It's all those long catches from the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
catching the 80-yard bombs once a week.
But Boyd is the only one under 1,000 yards.
What's he at?
792. So he might not even get it.
He's got to have a big game.
Yeah, he has to have a big game these 2 weeks. But I mean, he's the number 3. He's a slot receiver. So I mean, I think he's still having a very good year, for being the number 3. And since it looks like the Bengals kind of like really not really struggled, but they weren't like, they were bringing it together.
Yeah.
So and Burrow has a 69.9% completion percentage. So nice.
That helps.
Yeah. But I don't know. I kind of like what the Bengals are doing. Everybody joked about them not taking Penei Sewell, and I didn't like that move anyway. When they needed guards and not tackles, I liked the Chase pick.
Yeah, I think it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you're drafting for your quarterback, and he wanted Chase, and you want to make him happy, bring him his guy, so it worked out.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's it for my picks.
That's why they're GMs and people are regular people. All right. It's funny I talk about the Bills, but I think it's too many points. Give me the Falcons in 14. I think the Bills had their Super Bowl last week, and this is a little bit of a letdown game. I do think they win. I just don't think they cover. So Atlanta's been in more games than people realize this year, too.
The things I've seen on Twitter about Buffalo winning is you would have thought they just.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is a beautiful letdown spot for spread picks for sure. They knew they had to beat New England. They know they couldn't lose that game again. So
they'd still be having nightmares right now if they lost.
Yeah, they put all their chips in the basket for that game. Then I went to a gross. I know Brian says I don't ever pick two teams with losing records, but I went there this week and I took the Giants plus 5.5 because I think it's too many points, and I've been all about the Giants D, and I think it's a close game. It's somewhere up. It was up. I think it's above the top one, the one I just did. So,
but I haven't had supper yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's go Giants Bears. Yeah, don't really put your money on that game, people. But that is the pick I like here. I just think it's too many points with two bad teams, and it might be 10-7. So I'm with Mav on Seattle. I know Detroit's covered the spread a lot this year, but going to Seattle, it's Russell Wilson at home, and I think the offense and Rashard Penny's been running really well.
3 bad teams.
Well, I still count with Russell Wilson. Look. You're on me with this one, at least. I think it's a blowout here. I just think this will be the one time. The Lions got their win, and they got their tie, but I don't think they cover this one. I'm in blowout city here. Mav, I'm taking the Niners, though. I hope you're not on the Texans a week too late. But I think the Niners are just, as long as they don't mess it up quarterback-wise, we'll run all over them. So I know it's a lot of points, but Jimmy G plays, I'd probably change it because he'll probably have 4 turnovers. But, is that sad? I'll trust Trey Lance over Jimmy G, even though he's played 1 game. But I just think they run all over him. Also on Dallas against the Cardinals. I'm on the Cardinals. Sorry. You're on the Cowboys. Bounce back spot, I think, here. I think everyone's down on the Cardinals right now. Yeah, man, that Colts game was hard to watch. They had a lot of opportunities and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, that annoyed me too, because being a Fitzgerald fan and then a DeAndre Hopkins fan, so watching him come over. So I've technically been a Cardinals fan since 2006, 2007, because that's when I bought my Fitzgerald jersey. So that's basically my secondary team that I root for.
Okay.
So it was just so frustrating to watch them, because obviously I needed the Colts to lose. For, playoff implications, but just
so many chances to win that game. They just could not.
Annoyed. 2 times teams are letting Wentz get away with murder.
I agree. I've said it before. Imagine that team without Jonathan Taylor. I'd love to see the Colts without Taylor. So they wouldn't be winning many games. That's for sure. But
they'd probably be the worst team in football.
I just think it'll be an entertaining game, and it'll be a 1-score game. Without my only worry is they lose by 7. I think that's the only way you lose that. And Mav, and how dare you go against Roethlisberger in his last game at home? You know where I'm going. Upset of the week. Ben is getting points at home against the Browns? What kind of world am I living in? Now, here's the stat for you. Pittsburgh has not lost a home Monday Night Football game since 1991.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I think it's 19 in a row. So it does not end here. Ben's going to make it 20. He is not losing his final game at Heinz Field. Hopefully it's not his final game at Heinz Field. Fingers crossed that'd be a divisional win. But come on, man. You can't go against Ben here.
It's a great send-off for the Browns. It's a way to let them know that, you got to go.
You just talked about the refs. You don't think the refs are going to be all over Pittsburgh for Roethlisberger?
Why would they?
Come on. Because they're not going to let this oh, my. Almost let that one slip. They're not going to let this guy no. Pittsburgh. You know what this? Ben's throwing 3+ touchdowns.
Okay.
Calling it.
Okay.
That's right. The reason that so he get the rest on his side that he said this is likely my last game in Heinz Field. Keyword.
Right. He's coming back next year. I can't wait.
Pittsburgh is going to have one of their best offensive performances of the season this week. Maybe. I don't know. The first time we beat the Browns was 15-10. I'd take that too. But
they don't play well against the Browns. Even though they win, they don't play well.
We don't play well versus anybody this year. Okay. I still go back to week 1 and figure out how the heck we beat Buffalo. I still don't know how that happened, but
almost did me a favor.
You tried. Anyway, I'm not going against Ben. Final home game. I'm going to pick him next week too, and could be his final game against Baltimore.
He's coming back next year.
No, he's not. Stop it.
All that arm strength he has left. He's ready to go.
Yeah. All right, well, that's my 6 picks. Brian, what you got for us?
Oh man, I had the hardest week getting 6, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I like the Eagles -3.5 at Washington. There were, like I said, there were 4 games with higher point spreads than 12 or more. I went with Buffalo -14.5 because I don't think the other 3 teams were necessarily going to do it. I went with the Titans -3.5 versus the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins have won how many ever games they've won in a row. I don't see them winning this one. I agree with Mav, even though it's hard to do. I went the Bengals plus the 4.5 versus the Chiefs. And then this last one's a coin flip. I mean, I'm bandied a lot of things. Y'all have talked me out of several picks. Like the Colts are the worst team in football. I'd considered that.
Without Jonathan Taylor, yeah.
I'm going to go. I guess I'll go with the Packers -7 versus the Vikings.
Ooh.
I don't know why, but the Packers are 7-0 against the spread at home. I guess that's good reason enough. And then last but not least, and we think where we know, I go chronologically. That was the Sunday night game. Next would be the Monday night game.
You already clicked it.
Definitely my pick, the Steelers. And in addition to your stat, which is I didn't know, that's amazing in and of itself. But this year as a home dog, they're 2-0 against the spread.
Let's go.
So we'll just make that 3-0.
You know, I almost took the Patriots. I know it's 15 or 16, but Jacksonville, are they even going to score 15 or 16? Like, that's going to be a blowout, right?
It should, but there are times that Mav may disagree with me, but there are times that the Patriots offense doesn't necessarily score 40 or 50 points every game like some of the other teams. So they're just a very good team.
And Titans, Dolphins, I don't know, man. I don't know how you pick that game. Like, I mean, I don't even know which side I'd lean. I got nothing on that game at all.
Well, I don't blame you. Like I said,
let's go Titans.
Pick and 6, so
screw the Dolphins.
So the games none of us picked, Raiders, Colts. Obviously, we don't know about Carson Wentz. Nobody took Tampa over the Jets.
So the thing is, I think 13.5 is too much.
On the road,
the Jets are one of those teams that, yes, they suck, but they are way better than their record, and they've actually been pretty impressive this year. The reason why I didn't touch Raiders Colts doesn't even matter if Wentz plays or not. He sucks anyway. We don't know which Raiders team is going to show up.
Yes.
If I had to pick, I think I would go with the Raiders plus the points.
I do.
I thought about that.
I do. I'm not a huge Wentz fan, but I still think he is better than Sam Ehlinger. I think we can give him that.
I hope so.
Maybe. No.
What about Ravens Rams? Nobody after Burrow did that.
Yeah, we don't even know which Ravens team is going to show up, and the Rams being as inconsistent as they are, Stafford will throw 3 picks against anybody.
Mm-hmm. Or he could throw 7 touchdowns. You really don't know what he's going to do.
Exactly. That's too much of a coin flip for me.
I would beg everybody to stay away from him, please.
Yeah, because even if it's Huntley is literally like Lamar Jackson, I don't know, B or something. I don't even know.
That's good. I agree.
Yeah, so even if it's Huntley, I'll take Huntley. Like, I don't mind.
Denver and the Chargers. Chargers bounce back. Denver beat them the first time. Do the Chargers just kind of lose their season now after?
The Chargers are just terrible in December, and the Broncos I think they just flat out, they have a good defense, but their offense, they just suck.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
I think if Locke wasn't playing, I would go with the Broncos.
Okay.
As it is, I would completely stay away from the game altogether. The only difference is between Locke and Bridgewater. Bridgewater's not typically going to throw too many pick sixes. Locke can.
Panthers.
I mean, 6.5. I mean,
I think you take Denver. I think it's Denver or stay away. I don't think you can lay the Chargers.
No.
And I'm just not the kind of person to ever pick Denver. I think they suck.
Especially Denver likes to run the ball. The Chargers can't stop the run. Like we should have mentioned. Nobody mentioned Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, but
they blew out the Chargers 28-13, and then they blew out Dallas.
Yeah.
But the other 4 wins they got here is against the Giants, Jags, Jets, and Washington, and Detroit.
And the last game is Saints, Panthers, and hell no.
Hell no.
Saints Panthers. Yeah, that's -6.5. Even if it's Taysom Hill,
I think it is.
I don't want to touch that game.
It's Hill versus Sam Darnold, and
Yeah,
we touched on all the rest of the game.
I'm not even watching that game. I have no interest in that game.
That is a under bet for me. That's what I would do. Low scoring.
Plus, we've always talked about divisional games. I would almost go with the Panthers, but like you said, I would stay as far away from it as I could.
Yep. All right. Well, that was a quick hour.
Yeah.
It was.
Like it.
Send ourselves out of here.
Even all that Steeler hater talk over there from
exhausted.
Hard.
I'm just like, if I'm not gonna pick New England, let me spice it up a little bit and go with the opposite my co-host here.
Christian's got you on for next year for sure, Mav. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I always forget that he's a Browns fan because of the the Mac Jones hate. I always look for it at this point.
You mean that Davis Mills has more arm strength?
So the arm strength, fine. Arm talents, which is what he wrote there, no.
Okay, fair enough.
And then I looked at his stats from the last few weeks because obviously we gotta, they got to pick 6 on Herbert, so I guess that makes Mills amazing. Just looking at his stats, I was like, there's nothing here that shows that he's better. Like, he beat the Jags 30-16, sure, I guess. He threw for 209 yards.
Well, let's see what Mac does against the Jags this week, and there you got a comparison.
but let's also be honest. Even though Mac coming out of college wasn't as highly regarded as the other quarterbacks, Mills was like a complete afterthought. So I think it's unfair that they're comparing the two right now. But the reason we're giving Mills more attention is simply because he was a complete nobody, and now he appears to be possibly a somebody. So,
it's fair to say he's played better than Fields. He's played better than Zach Wilson. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it'll be interesting how it shakes out. The whole rookie QB class, we knew they all weren't going to be good. It just never happens.
All right. Well, all Mac has to do is do better than 209 yards against the Jags.
Which he might not, because they might just be up so big and he might just keep handing it off. So, we'll see what happens.
Well, the reason why they beat the Chargers is because of a former Patriot running back, Rex Burkhead, 150 and 2 touchdowns.
Went off.
Yeah, that's the reason why Mills even looked good, because he got the play-action passing game there.
That's why running backs don't matter.
Former Patriot, Christian.
All you got to do in your fantasy playoffs is go pick up Duke Johnson and Rex Burkhead, and you'll win some fantasy titles. So.
Christian, are you there watching? Christian, the former Patriot, helped out your boy Mills. All right?
I think that's a good note to end on.
And then another former Patriot, Sony Michelle, is putting in some work over there in LA, too. Just out here.
I agree with Luke. It's time to sign out.
Mav's going on a whole different tirade. Mav needs to go to bed, I think.
I do, actually. I'm tired.
All right, fellas.
Oh, let me remove. Here we go. That is me. I always do this every week. Under there. Yeah. I would definitely be talking a lot about the Patriots beating up on the Jags, as they should. If they don't, I might not be here next week.
Yeah, you see my name down there, Lucas Deepow. I'll be watching potentially Ben's last home game.
He'll be back next year. I can't wait.
Stop it. The only way he plays in the home game is if they make the playoffs. So it is going to be a shed a tear Monday night kind of game. Every moment is going to be it's going to be a long day, but we'll survive. We'll get through this. Power songs, Bible, we'll get through it all. He's been there for half my life, so it's kind of weird thinking that he might not be there.
Yeah, he's been there for a while. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was a junior in high school when we drafted him, so
it's crazy that Brady's still around. I was, what was it, 2000? Oh my God.
Ben was drafted in 2004 with Eli and Rivers, so
this
that's
is
crazy.
insane.
So that's the end of that. But yeah, that's all we got this weekend. Let's beat Cleveland.
Yeah. So thanks again for tuning in. Week 18 is going to have a new twist. I mean, there'll be several teams that have already clinched the playoffs. And as a PSA, we're going to set our date. Mav started a new job, so we're going to figure out the best date that works for all three of us. So just be looking for that on Twitter. There'll be an announcement shortly beforehand as to what day we're going to do it. But Happy New Year to all. I'm looking forward to the beginning of 2022. And thanks again for tuning in. For all of us, Happy New Year once again. Take care.
Your
you guys.
boys later.
See ya.